let it go first. Page 23. Can you go to page 23? Go to page 23 real quick here. A lot of you are going to be using this when it's exam time or end of year time. You're like, what do I need to get on the exam to get a certain average? Okay. Guys, make sure you go to 23 now. Okay, it's important. So I'm going to highlight that just so you know, like we covered it, right? We basically are going to focus on finding the value. Find the value to get a certain average. So that's backwards. Okay. So make sure you go to 23 and you follow along. Okay. In one game, a football team has the offensive drives of 45 yards, 43 yards, 24, 21, and 44. The coach wants the team to achieve a mean. That's important to us, right? The team wants to achieve a 35 yard per drive for the game. What must the length of the next offensive drive be? Right? So that's the question here. What must the length of the next offensive drive be to meet the goal? Okay. So I will say this very clearly. Mean is given. And just add a few exclamation marks there. Okay. Mean is given. So what's the mean here? 35 yards per drive. So we're just going to go 35 yards. That is what we're after. We want on average to have a yardage or offensive drives of 35 yards. Okay, so remember, the formula for mean is sum divided by number of values. Correct? You're with me? That's the average. And we were just given this number. So we're going to take that and substitute that over on the left side of that equation. So you're going to write the next line like this. I'm going to use 35 is equal to, and we're going to add a bunch of values here. We're going to say, hey, to get the average, we would add 45, 43, right? All of these drives that they've done. 21, 44. What else do we need to have there? We have to pay close attention to this part. We have to add the next drive. We don't know what that has to be, but this is our next drive. Next drive. It's like, what do you need to get on your final exam to get a certain average, right? What does your next drive have to be so that you meet that 35 yard average? Okay. And we're going to divide this by, how many numbers are we going to be adding here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mystery, 6. 6 values. 5 were given, 1 is unknown. But we are considering 6 values. Okay? And now this is where it gets fun. Okay, we're going to clean this up a bit. 35 is equal to, let's add up these numbers. And I'll just skip to it. I'm going to tell you that this adds up to 177 plus the unknown. We don't know what that is, but we're cleaning it up. And you're going to go over 6. Now, you should recognize that we're isolating x. You want to know what x is. I'm going to tackle this number first, whatever is dividing first. So watch what I'm going to do to this side. I'm going to multiply it by, how do I get rid of dividing by 6? Multiplying by 6, you're right. Can I only do it to one side? No. I need to go, oh, times 6? Well, let's do it to both sides, or else it's not going to be balanced. What do I get to do with these two numbers? It's so satisfying. Yeah. Did you know that they actually don't cancel? It's 6 divided by 6 is 1. There's just a 1 there, which we don't care about. Some teachers are very particular with that. I'm okay with you canceling. It's so satisfying, right? 6 times 35 is 210. And now you're freed of these brackets that I introduced, because I just used them to show you that 6 multiplies this whole thing. So you're left with 177 plus x. What must I do now? That's right. And what I'm going to show here is I'm going to subtract 177 from the right side, and I'm going to do the same thing with the left side. Guys, if you just focus on the red part, every question is essentially the same, except for you may be including 10 values, or right, like, so the times 6 is not always going to be the same, and the average we're looking for is not always going to be the same. But what's 210 minus 177? That's actually 33 yards. That is what we were after. Okay, so my answer here is the next drive must be 33 yards to achieve a 35-yard average. Is it reasonable to expect that as a coach? Look, like, you're expecting a 33 next to get your average of 35. Look at what has happened in the past. Have they done over 33 ever? Yeah, right here. The team is capable of doing that. Something happened with the team. They started strong. It's like the Jets, I think. Start strong and then, and oh, let's do playoff time. Let's shine, right? But anyways, that's what I mean here with this question. It's like, does your answer seem logical or reasonable? And you would say, yes, it is, since the team had drives of up to 45 yards in the past. And so you could also argue that given that they've done so well before, they don't need to have such a high drive anymore, because of the 45 and the 44. Those high numbers kind of help them. And so they don't need, I don't even know, is 35-yard drives, is that impressive on average? I'm not a football person, so you should probably look into that, right? So that's the thing. Okay. I want to, time is going to cut me short here, but I think I can do one more before tomorrow, because then I will also assign 1 or 2 questions so you can try it yourselves. Okay. So come with me to 24. And I will put a bit of a twist to it. Like, it won't always have to be as long as I just showed you here. Grab your highlighters. You ready? Page 24. In 1 week, the mean number of passengers. I'm going to highlight that. The mean passengers. Mean passengers, right? It's just so mean, the passengers. You get it? 1290. Right? So on average, you get 1290 passengers per day. And so now, How many people pass through the turnstile on Sunday? What's a turnstile? Anybody know? You know the thing that Canadian Tire has on Lila there? Like when you cross the bar, it counts you, right? Like some of the buses or some transit systems, they have that, right? When you enter, it counts. So that's what it is. It's just a fact. So a turnstile, that's what it is. It counts you as you walk through it. It just keeps track of how many people, I guess, enter the station or the train or the transportation method of that area. So they're asking, hey, what does Sunday, let's go X, right? What does Sunday have to be? What do you have to get on Sunday to get that average of $12.90 per day? So why don't we do this? Let's figure out what we already have. Let's add this up. If you add these numbers up, you get 8,102 passengers. And then Sunday is unknown to us. So again, you start this way. The mean is the sum divided by a number of values. What is our mean in this case? What's going to replace this weird looking X there? You're going to put the 1290, the average that the question is mentioning, you're going to put that in there. 1290 is equal to, and before I showed you how to add everything up, right? We already know what that is. That's 8102. But don't forget, we still have plus X. Usually you want to forget about the X, right? But in this case, you want to forget. Ha ha ha. Right? And so how many values are we considering? How many days? 7. Yes. So this represents 6 days, and this is the 7th day. So we divide by 7. Can you take this one home? You think you could solve that? I hope so. Let's see. The first thing you want to tackle is this. So by the way, guys, I don't know how you were taught. The action happens on the, like what tells you what you need to do happens where the variable is on this side. So the first thing I would do is say, it's like, hey, I'm going to multiply it by 7, and I'm going to multiply this by 7. And you get to cancel out the 7s, right? And on this side, it is 7 times that, which is 9,030. You're left with 8102 plus X. What happens next? You're hoping for the bell, right? 8102. 8102. X is equal to, subtract this, you get 928 passengers. So for this transit system, to get that average of 1290 per day, you need to have 928 passengers on Sunday. You're expecting that on Sunday. Let's put it that way. As a transit company, that's what you're expecting on Sunday. Does this number seem logical? It's a Sunday, right? Usually Sundays, most people don't work. So you would say it is Sunday. Most people don't work. Right? A low value is expected. A low number of passengers expected. Okay? Because it's the lowest of the entire week is Sunday. So I'm going to assign, it's going to show up on Google Classroom. So the pages that follow this has a few backwards examples. Let me see if I can freeze the screen so I can. Yeah. So basically just page 25, I'm going to say. Just page 25, try that one, page 25. I will probably post more than that so you can practice whatever else comes after.